Story 1. The 72-Hour Trial. Dr. Karen Holt had overseen dozens of sleep studies in her career, but none quite like the one codenamed Project Morpheus. It wasn't run by the university. It was funded privately, off the books, hush-hush, with security clearance required just to enter the lab. The participants were told it was a study on extended wakefulness and cognitive response. That was only half true. 5 volunteers. 3 days awake. Constant observation. The facility was buried underground beneath an old psychology building, windowless, sterile, smelling faintly of disinfectant and ozone. Every surface gleamed with the pale fluorescence of sleepless hours. Cameras lined the corners of each room, recording every blink, twitch, and mutter. On the first day, the subjects were enthusiastic. There was Mira, a graduate student desperate for the stipend. Tony, a former soldier trying to prove he didn't need sleep anymore. Rachel, a psychology major fascinated by dreams. And 2 others, Aaron and Leah, siblings who had signed up together. Karen had told them the goal: to explore the boundary between consciousness and unconsciousness, to find where the mind goes when it's denied rest. They laughed. They thought it was a test of endurance. By the end of the first 24 hours, they were still joking. They drank coffee, told stories, played cards under the clinical hum of fluorescent lights. Cameras tracked every movement. Their pupils dilated slightly, but their coordination remained intact. The second night was different. Mira began to complain of hearing whispers through the vents. Aaron laughed it off until he started hearing them too, like faint, rhythmic breathing that matched the tempo of their heartbeats. Tony stared at the mirror in his room for nearly an hour before telling Dr. Holt that it wasn't his reflection anymore. "Someone's looking through it," he said. Karen blamed auditory hallucinations, common in sleep deprivation. She noted their vitals, adjusted their caffeine intake, and instructed the overnight guards to monitor them closely. But at 48 hours, the guards began reporting something strange. The cameras in room 3, Rachel's room, kept flickering. Whenever the feed stabilized, she appeared to be sitting upright, eyes wide open, whispering as if speaking to someone invisible beside her. When security entered, she was asleep, deeply asleep, though her EEG still read wakeful. Her body was sleeping, but her brain refused to follow. They called it split state. By the 60-hour mark, the subject's mental states deteriorated rapidly. Leah scratched at the walls until her nails bled, claiming something was behind them, scratching back. Mira began repeating words she hadn't spoken aloud. Karen recognized them from one of her earlier tests, phrases whispered to her during pre-screening. How could she possibly remember that? Karen wondered aloud. Tony stopped talking altogether. He just stared at the door as if waiting for something to come through. That's when the power cut out. It lasted less than a minute, but when the emergency lights flickered on, Leah was gone. Vanished. The room's door had been locked from the outside. Security swore they hadn't opened it. The feed showed static. They searched for hours, every hallway, every storage room, every vent. Nothing. When they checked the remaining footage frame by frame, there was one still image that made Karen's stomach turn. In the millisecond before the blackout, Leah was standing in front of the mirror. And something dark, taller than her, featureless, and bending toward her face, was reaching out of the reflection. Karen ordered the experiment terminated immediately. But the sponsors refused. "We're on the verge of breakthrough data," they said. "Continue the protocol." So she did. By hour 70, the surviving participants were incoherent. Aaron refused to sleep, terrified he wouldn't wake up. He sobbed quietly in his room, muttering Leah's name over and over. Mira stopped responding to her name entirely, staring blankly at the security cameras like she could see the people watching. Rachel was still asleep, but she wasn't dreaming normally. Her brain scans showed something Karen had never seen before, patterns that didn't match human REM cycles. "Her brain waves are syncing with the others," the assistant whispered, horrified. "What do you mean?" "They're identical, Dr. Holt. They're all sharing the same pattern. It's like they're dreaming together, but they're awake." At exactly 72 hours, the alarms went off. Rachel's EEG flatlined for 30 seconds, then spiked violently. She sat upright and screamed, a sound so raw it blew out the audio feed. Tony began to pound on his door, shouting at her to stop. Aaron collapsed in the hallway, clawing at his chest, as if something inside him was trying to crawl out. And Mira started laughing. But it wasn't her laugh. The voice that came out of her throat was deeper, layered, like multiple people speaking through one mouth. "You kept us awake," it said. "Now we'll keep you awake." Every monitor in the lab exploded into static. The lights flickered. When Karen tried to shut down the system, the controls were frozen, every screen displaying the same message: consciousness preserved. Then, silence. When rescue teams entered the lab the next morning, they found 4 participants dead. Tony and Aaron had torn at their eyes and throats. Rachel had bitten through her tongue. Myra's body was upright, her eyes wide open, her mouth twisted into a grin. Leah was never found. Dr. Holt was alive but unresponsive, her eyes open, pupils dilated. Her EEG showed no brain activity, yet she continued to breathe on her own. On the security footage from the control room, she can be seen staring into one of the monitors. In the reflection of the screen, 5 figures stand behind her. 5, not 4. And the 5th one, head tilted, hair hanging over her face, whispers something directly into the lens before the feed cuts to black. No one ever decoded the final frame. But those who've seen it say that, if you look closely enough, you can see the faint outline of text burned into the glass. "You woke us up." Story 2. The Dream Monitor. Julian Hale was the kind of man who hadn't slept properly in years. At 29, he was juggling 3 part-time jobs, overdue rent, and a gnawing anxiety that never seemed to let him rest. His eyes were always ringed with gray, his mind, a fog of half-thoughts and caffeine. So, when he saw the ad stapled to a telephone pole one rainy night, "Paid sleep study. 2 weeks, $2,000, all expenses covered," it felt like a lifeline. He tore the paper off and dialed the number right there on the sidewalk, his fingers trembling. A woman answered in a calm, detached voice. "Somnus Research Facility, participant line. Are you calling about the sleep trial?" "Yes," Julian said, breathless. "Is it still open?" There was a pause, and then the woman replied, "You sound tired." "Perfect candidate. Can you come tonight?" That night, he packed a small bag, toothbrush, charger, and a paperback novel he knew he wouldn't read, and took the bus across town. The facility sat on the edge of an industrial district, an old brick building with no sign, just a glowing keypad by the door. A tall man in a white coat opened it before Julian could knock. "You must be Julian," he said, extending a hand. "I'm Dr. Ames. Welcome to Somnus." The interior was eerily quiet. The hallways were lined with pale green walls and fluorescent lights that never flickered, not once. Everything smelled faintly of antiseptic and static electricity. Dr. Ames led him to a small white room with a bed in the center. Beside it was a desk with a single monitor, currently displaying a pulsing graph of brain waves. Electrodes were neatly arranged on a tray. "You'll be sleeping here for the next 14 nights, Dr. Ames said. "Each night, we'll observe your brain activity, record your REM cycles, and, if possible, collect data from your dreams." Julian frowned. "Collect data from my dreams? How does that even work?" Ames smiled slightly. "Think of it as pattern recognition. The brain projects visual frequencies. We've developed technology to interpret them." Julian didn't understand, but he nodded. He needed the money, not the science. The first night was uneventful. They attached the electrodes, gave him a light sedative, and dimmed the lights. He drifted into a deep, dreamless sleep for the first time in months. When he woke, the nurse smiled. "Excellent readings. You're adapting well." By the 3rd night, the dreams began. Vivid, strange, but oddly beautiful. Colors that didn't exist in the real world, faces without features, landscapes that bent and melted into each other like living paint. Each morning, Dr. Ames would ask him to describe what he'd seen. "Every detail matters," he'd say, typing furiously as Julian spoke. But by the 5th night, something changed. Julian dreamt of the same room he was sleeping in, same bed, same walls, except someone else was in it. Himself. Lying perfectly still, eyes open, breathing slow. He couldn't move, couldn't speak, just watched as his double blinked once and smiled faintly. He woke with his heart racing and sweat dampening his sheets. The nurse checked his vitals, murmured something about REM intrusion, and gave him another sedative. That morning, Dr. Ames's questions were different. Did the copy speak to you? Did it touch you? Did you experience pain? Julian hesitated. No. It just looked at me. But it felt like it knew I was there. Dr. Ames only nodded. Good. That's progress. Progress. The word made Julian uneasy. By the 7th night, he stopped dreaming entirely, or so he thought. He would fall asleep and wake up feeling as if entire hours had been erased. Once, he caught a glimpse of his reflection in the observation window, only it wasn't reflecting his movements in sync. It blinked half a second too late. He began to notice the absence of clocks. No sense of day or night. Meals came irregularly, sometimes back-to-back, sometimes with what felt like days between them. He asked one of the staff what time it was, and she simply said, "Time doesn't matter here. Sleep matters." Julian laughed nervously, but the woman didn't. On the 10th night, something woke him at 3 a.m., a faint humming noise, low and constant, vibrating through the mattress. The camera in the corner emitted a soft red glow. He turned toward the intercom. Its light was on, flickering. Then, a whisper, "Julian. Don't move." He froze. The voice was faint, distorted, but human. "They can't know you're awake," it said. "You're not supposed to wake up between cycles." "They'll see." Julian swallowed hard. "Who are you?" The voice didn't answer at first. Then it said, "Check the monitor by your bed." He turned slowly. The heart monitor was flatlining. "I'm dead," he whispered. "No," the voice said, "but they're trying to make you that way." Before he could respond, the door clicked open. Dr. Ames stood there, smiling too wide. "Having trouble sleeping?" Julian stared, heart pounding. Someone was talking to me through the intercom." Ames glanced at the device. "There's no signal to that line, Julian. It's been disabled for days." He wanted to argue, but Ames pressed a syringe into his arm before he could move. "You need rest," he said softly. "You're starting to dream outside the schedule." Darkness swallowed everything. When Julian woke again, his limbs were heavy and his throat burned. He tried to move, but found restraints at his wrists and ankles. His vision swam. The camera's red light blinked steadily above him. Through the fog of sedation, he heard voices, Ames and another man. "He's stable?" the other voice asked. "For now," Ames said. "The overlap increased last night. We nearly lost the feed. His mind's trying to disconnect from the network. Then we pushed deeper," the other said. "He's the perfect conduit." Their voices faded, and Julian drifted in and out of consciousness. At some point, he dreamed again, or maybe didn't. He saw a hallway lined with hospital beds, each occupied by sleeping bodies. Each body was him. Hundreds of him, all connected by wires and tubes. Some twitched. Some screamed silently. He woke screaming. This time, no one came. Hours later, or days, he managed to free one hand from the restraint. The leather tore easily, as if it had already been cut. He stumbled off the bed and toward the door, legs shaking. The handle didn't move. Then he noticed something on the floor, a small, worn photograph. It showed a man who looked exactly like him, standing beside Dr. Ames in the same white room. On the back, a date, 2014. Julian felt sick. He wasn't even born in 2014. He was 29. He slammed on the door until his hands bled. Finally, the intercom flickered to life again. "Julian," the voice said, calm, almost compassionate. "You were never here to sleep. You were here to dream for us." He backed away. "What are you talking about?" "They found a way to extract consciousness during REM cycles," the voice continued. "To record it, reshape it, even duplicate it. You've been duplicated dozens of times. You're not the first Julian. You're just the most recent copy that still thinks he's real." Julian looked at his trembling hands. They didn't feel real anymore. The faint hum of the machines grew louder, almost deafening. He screamed, tearing the electrodes from his head, and suddenly, everything went dark. He woke up lying in the bed again. Fresh sheets. New wires. His body clean, no cuts, no blood. The intercom light glowed softly. "Welcome back, Julian," said Dr. Ames's voice. "We've adjusted your REM sequence. The hallucinations should stop now." Julian tried to speak, but his throat was dry. How long have I been here? Ames chuckled. You always ask that. Every cycle. What cycle? The dream, Julian. You're still in it. Julian turned toward the mirror. His reflection smiled back at him, but his own face didn't move. He was found 3 months later, wandering the industrial district barefoot and disoriented, repeating the same sentence over and over. They're still dreaming me. The Somnus facility was gone, the building emptied, the walls stripped, no trace of equipment or personnel. But in the basement, police found a single operating room. In the center, a bed with straps and dried bloodstains. On the monitor beside it was a single line of text, pulsing slowly across the screen. Dream feed active. Subject, Julian Hale. Instance Story 3, The Sleepless Ward. No one knew what went on behind the doors of Ward C. Patients whispered about it during lights out at the Somnus Sleep Recovery Center, a sterile, whitewashed building at the edge of town that promised restoration through science. To outsiders, it looked like a private medical facility. To those inside, it was a place where time, memory, and sleep all blurred together until nothing felt quite real. When Clara Benson arrived, she wasn't looking for horror. She just wanted to sleep. She'd been an ICU nurse for years, night shifts, caffeine, adrenaline, trauma. But after a car accident left her concussed and haunted by insomnia, she hadn't slept more than 2 hours a night for nearly 6 months. Her body was breaking down. Her mind wasn't far behind. So when her neurologist suggested the Somnus Center, promising non-invasive, experimental sleep induction, she didn't hesitate. She signed the forms without reading every line. After all, what could be worse than never sleeping again? The receptionist smiled too much. We're thrilled to have you here, Clara, she said, handing her a white wristband. You're assigned to Ward B for initial observation. After a few nights, we'll see if you're eligible for Ward C. Eligible? Clara asked. For what? The woman's smile froze. For deeper recovery. Ward B was nothing like a hospital. It looked more like a hotel stripped of warmth. Minimalist rooms, metal doors, a single bed, a screen mounted above the headboard. At first, it seemed harmless. They hooked her up to monitors, asked about her sleep history, administered mild sedatives. But every time Clara started to drift off, a low vibration hummed through her pillow. It wasn't loud enough to wake her, just enough to nudge her brain awake again. By the 4th night, she was hallucinating shadows in the corners, convinced she could hear the walls breathing. Dr. Lenz, her assigned physician, watched her deterioration with clinical detachment. Your mind resists surrender, he said. That's common before adjustment. Adjustment to what? She asked. He smiled faintly. To Ward C. It happened on the 7th night. They told her she was ready. Ward C was in the sublevel of the building. No windows, no natural light. Only endless corridors painted the same color as fog. As they wheeled her bed down the hallway, Clara caught glimpses of other patients. Men and women strapped to reclined chairs, eyes fluttering under closed lids, heads crowned with clusters of metal nodes. None of them looked asleep. They looked trapped. Her room in Ward C had no door handle on the inside. The screen above her bed now displayed looping lines of code instead of sleep graphs. Dr. Lenz explained, you'll undergo a targeted stimulation protocol tonight. It will suppress your wake cycle completely. Think of it as sleep without interruption, perfect rest. She wanted to believe him. She needed to. They placed a headset over her skull, thin wires snaking into her temples. She felt the first pulse, a faint electric tickle, and then nothing. For the first time in months, she fell asleep. She woke up, or thought she did, in the same bed. But something was off. The lights were dimmer, and the walls seemed to shimmer like heat rising off asphalt. Clara swung her legs off the bed. Her bare feet touched something cold, tile slick with condensation. She stepped into the hallway, and her breath caught. Ward C was different. The fluorescent lights flickered like dying fireflies. The patients she'd passed earlier were still there, but their skin was pale as wax, mouths hanging open, tubes stretching from their noses into the ceiling. The sound was the worst, a low hum of synchronized breathing that wasn't coming from their lungs, but from somewhere behind the walls. Hello, she whispered. No answer. Then she saw Dr. Lenz standing at the end of the hall. He wasn't wearing his coat anymore. His face looked wrong, stretched, smooth, as though something had taken his shape but not quite mastered it. "Doctor," she said, trembling. He tilted his head. "You're dreaming, Clara. Don't wake up yet." She stumbled backward. "What do you mean, yet?" He took a step forward. His voice deepened, echoing in the hollow air. "We can't function without you." Clara jerked awake in her bed, gasping. The lights were back to normal. The machines beeped calmly beside her. A nurse entered, clipboard in hand. "Rough night?" she asked gently. Clara stared at her. "I dreamed I was still here. I saw you. Dr. Lenz. Everyone." The nurse smiled. "That means the therapy's working. You're processing reality through the dream layers now." Clara didn't like the sound of that. When she looked at the screen beside her bed, she noticed something new. Her name, followed by cycle 3, subject retained. "What does that mean?" she asked. But the nurse was already leaving. Over the next few days, Clara's grip on time dissolved completely. She would fall asleep, wake up, eat a meal, then realize the clock hadn't moved. Sometimes she'd open her eyes to see Dr. Lenz standing by her bed, whispering in a language she couldn't understand. Other times, she'd see flashes of herself walking the halls, talking to other patients, but she hadn't left the bed. The worst was the third night in Ward C. She woke up to find another woman sitting in the chair by her bed, pale, shaking, wearing the same wristband. "Who are you?" Clara whispered. The woman lifted her head slowly. "Clara Benson." Her own voice, her own face. "I don't understand," she said, backing away. The double smiled weakly. "Neither did I. The first time, it feels like a dream. The second time, it feels like a memory. The third time," she leaned closer, her breath cold, "you realize you're the dream." Then the lights blinked, and the woman was gone. The next morning, Clara demanded answers. She stormed into the observation bay, where monitors displayed streams of neural data. To her horror, one screen showed multiple EEG signatures, all labeled Clara B. "How many of me are there?" she shouted. Dr. Lenz looked up from his console, his expression almost pitying. "We record fragments of consciousness during deep sleep," he said. "They evolve, independently, inside shared dream states. You volunteered to help us study synthetic consciousness. You're saying I'm a copy?" "Not exactly. You're all copies. Every time we induce sleep, a new you wakes up inside the network. You're one of many iterations." The original Clara stopped breathing on day 3. Her knees buckled. "That's impossible." "Is it?" he said softly. "Then how do you explain the memories you can't place? The faces you never met? The dreams where you see yourself?" Clara screamed. She lunged toward him, ripping cables off the machines. Sparks flashed. Sirens wailed. The world around her shimmered and cracked like glass under pressure. Then, silence. She opened her eyes. The room was empty. No alarms, no doctors, just an endless corridor stretching ahead. The walls pulsed faintly, veins of light crawling through the paint like something alive beneath the surface. She ran, bare feet slapping against cold tile, heart hammering. At the end of the corridor, she saw a door marked exit. She pushed it open. Bright sunlight blinded her. She stumbled into a quiet city street. Cars passed. People walked. Freedom. But when she looked at their faces, they were all the same. Identical. Her face. Dozens of Claras, moving mechanically, eyes vacant. She screamed and backed away, but behind her the door had vanished. The building shimmered. The air buzzed. Then she heard Dr. Lenz's voice, calm and distant. "You're adapting beautifully, Clara." The network's stable again. She turned toward the sound and saw him standing inside a digital grid, surrounded by floating monitors. "This world," he said, gesturing around them, "is one of your minds. You've built it yourself. But you can't all exist. Only one Clara can stay." Her hands trembled. "Then who decides which one?" He smiled. "You do." Clara ran. She didn't know where, only away. The streets twisted and folded like paper. Her duplicates turned toward her as she passed, each whispering in her voice, "I'm real." "No, I am. Don't wake up. It hurts." The world began collapsing, walls bending inward, faces melting into static. She fell to her knees, clutching her head. Then she remembered something from her first night at Somnus. Dr. Lenz had said sleep is surrender, so she did the opposite. She fought it. She dug her nails into her arms, screamed, forced herself to stay awake even as the dream peeled apart around her. "Let me out," she cried. "I want to wake up." A voice answered, faint but real this time, not from the dream, but from somewhere above it. Vitals rising. She's conscious again. The world shattered into white. Clara opened her eyes to bright lights. Real ones. The air smelled like antiseptic and metal. She was in a hospital bed, but not the Somnus Center. This one was older, worn, human. A paramedic leaned over her. "Ma'am? Can you hear me? You were found in an abandoned facility. You've been asleep for we don't know how long." Her throat burned. "Ward C," she whispered. The paramedic frowned. "Ward what?" "That place has been shut down for years." They loaded her onto a stretcher. As they rolled her out, she caught a glimpse of something in the broken mirror on the wall, her reflection. It blinked half a second too late. Clara tried to move on. She rented a small apartment, started therapy, learned to sleep again without machines. But sometimes, in the early hours before dawn, she'd wake to the sound of static in her ear, faint, rhythmic, familiar. And once, just once, she answered it. "Clara," said a voice identical to hers. "You left me there." She screamed and threw the phone across the room. When she picked it up again, the screen showed only one message: Ward C, Cycle 2 active. 6 months later, the Somnus Sleep Recovery Center reopened under a new name, the Lenz Institute for Neurological Advancement. Their slogan read, "We don't just help you sleep. We help you evolve." Story 4. The Girl Who Stayed Awake. There are some studies that should never have been done, experiments that sound like science, but feel more like whispers from something dark. In 1989, a small psychiatric research lab in northern Canada ran one such study. Officially, it was titled Project Somnus, designed to test the effects of controlled sleep deprivation on cognitive awareness. Unofficially, it was a descent into madness that would later be wiped from every database and newspaper mention. Only fragments remain: medical records, missing persons reports, and one voice recording recovered from the lab's basement in 1993. The project revolved around a 22-year-old woman named Anna Delcourt. She was a psychology student at a nearby university, bright, focused, and desperately in need of money. The payment offered was almost suspiciously high, $10,000 for 1 month of participation. All she had to do was live inside the facility, follow instructions, and stay awake for as long as possible while under medical observation. Anna signed the forms without reading the fine print. The lab was nothing like a hospital, more like a converted farmhouse with metal corridors added to its structure. There were no windows, only fluorescent lights that flickered faintly, creating the illusion of movement when there was none. The research team consisted of 4 people: Dr. Harold Neiman, the project lead, Dr. Evelyn Stroud, a sleep specialist, and 2 silent assistants who rarely spoke or looked Anna in the eye. The first few days were simple enough. They monitored her vitals, logged her responses to cognitive tests, and fed her a strange mixture of liquid supplements that tasted metallic. Cameras were installed in every corner of her room. She was not allowed to close her eyes for longer than 10 seconds. If she did, a sharp alarm would blare through hidden speakers. By the end of the 3rd day, Anna's body began to rebel. Her hands shook uncontrollably. Her sense of time blurred. The walls pulsed as if they were breathing, and she started to hear voices murmuring beneath the hum of the lights. "Just your brain misfiring, Dr. Stroud said. "You'll get used to it." But she didn't. On the 5th night, something strange appeared on the monitor. The footage showed Anna standing perfectly still in front of the camera, eyes wide open, not moving for almost 20 minutes. When Dr. Neiman entered her room, she didn't react. It was only when he snapped his fingers in front of her face that she blinked, confused. "You came in," she said softly, "but you already were." The researchers began documenting mirror behavior, moments where Anna seemed to see someone else in the room, someone invisible to them. The hallucinations escalated. During one interview, she whispered that the lights were keeping it out, but that she could still see it standing behind the doctors, its reflection shifting in the metal walls. When they asked her what it was, she said, "The one that watches when I close my eyes." the one that never sleeps. The scientists didn't stop the experiment. Instead, they introduced controlled darkness, a full blackout chamber for stimulus response. Anna was placed inside for 1 hour while cameras recorded everything. 30 minutes in, the live feed glitched. A low humming filled the speakers, followed by a sound like someone whispering directly into the microphone. When the power returned, the room was empty. Anna was gone. They found her 4 hours later, crouched in the corner of the ventilation shaft near the ceiling, her fingernails torn and her eyes wide open, completely dilated. She was mumbling a single phrase over and over. "It saw me sleep." From that point on, the experiment changed. The team no longer conducted tests, they simply observed. Anna stopped eating. Her voice became hoarse. Every time she blinked, she seemed to lose another second of herself. Sometimes, she would freeze mid-sentence and then continue as if nothing happened. Dr. Stroud began having nightmares. In her personal journal, later found among the evidence, she wrote, "I see it too now. When the lights flicker, there's something standing where Anna looks. It's like her shadow moves first, and then she follows." On the 15th day, Anna spoke for the first time in hours. "It's not about sleep," she said. "It's about staying awake long enough for something else to notice you." No one knew what she meant. The following night, the lab's emergency systems activated without reason. The alarms blared, red lights flashing through the corridors. When security arrived, they found Dr. Neiman dead in his office, his eyes wide open, staring into nothing. Anna was sitting beside him, perfectly calm, whispering to his corpse, "You see now. You can't unsee it." The project was shut down immediately. Dr. Stroud vanished within a week. The assistants resigned, never to be heard from again. Anna was transferred to a psychiatric facility, where she remained silent for 3 years, except for one incident when a nurse turned off the lights by mistake. Anna screamed until every bulb in the hallway shattered. The recording from that night, the only surviving audio, captures something unsettling. Beneath Anna's screams, there's a second voice. A low, guttural whisper repeating in sync with her, as though something was speaking through her. In 1993, the facility burned down, officially ruled an accident. But investigators never found Anna's body. All that was left in her room was a note scrawled in black ink on the wall. "I stayed awake too long. Now it's my turn to watch." To this day, staff who work in the new research building swear that sometimes, at night, they hear typing coming from the old lab's sealed basement. The lights flicker for no reason, and motion sensors detect a figure standing perfectly still in front of the observation cameras, watching, unblinking. No one dares to stay there past midnight. Because if the story of Anna Delcourt is true, it means there's something that waits between waking and sleep. And once it notices you, it never looks away. Story 5. The Sleepbox Experiment. In 1974, deep beneath the frozen soil of northern Finland, there existed a facility so secret that even local authorities didn't know what it was for. To the outside world, it was labeled Facility K-12, a government-funded psychological sleep study designed to explore dream deprivation and cognitive resilience. But to those who worked there, those few who lasted more than a month, it was something entirely different. Something closer to a nightmare machine. The project began when a series of military researchers proposed a theory that human consciousness could be split through extreme sensory manipulation, specifically through the control of REM cycles. If the brain could be kept from dreaming long enough, the self might fracture, revealing what one scientist described as the raw mind beneath awareness. To test this, they built 5 isolation chambers known as sleep boxes. Each was a perfect cube, metal walls coated with soundproof foam, no windows, no clocks, and no access to natural light. Inside, the subjects would live for 30 days, constantly monitored by EEG sensors and cameras. They were told they could sleep whenever they wanted. But here was the catch. The moment their brain entered REM, the chamber would flood with a blinding light and emit a deafening 120 decibel tone, forcibly jolting them awake. 5 volunteers signed the contract. By day 2, none of them were the same. The footage begins like any scientific record, calm, procedural, detached. Each subject is interviewed before entering the sleep box. Their faces are calm, even enthusiastic. But within 72 hours, the enthusiasm melts into trembling exhaustion. Their eyes twitch violently, and their speech begins to slur. By day 4, one of them, subject, begins muttering to himself, repeating the phrase, "It's inside the static," whenever the speakers hum. By day 7, all 5 are showing signs of severe psychosis. One refuses to eat. Another keeps trying to tear the EEG sensors off his scalp. Dr. Juin Varshianen, the project lead, writes in his log that the subjects are displaying mirror reactions, mimicking one another's expressions even without visual contact. The hallucinations appear synchronized. They were all dreaming, but not while asleep. On day 10, the footage captures something impossible. Subject, a woman in her late 20s, stares directly into the camera and says, "Someone's watching from behind you." The recording crew freezes. No one is behind the camera. Yet when they review the footage later, a faint outline appears on the reflective glass, a blurred shape standing inside the control room where no one had been. 2 days later, subject stops responding altogether. He sits upright in bed for 16 hours straight, eyes wide, lips moving silently. When the researchers finally open the chamber to check on him, they find he's unresponsive but breathing. His EEG shows constant delta waves, the pattern of deep sleep. Except his eyes are open. He's dreaming with his eyes open. Dr. Varshianen writes again in his notes. The subjects have begun entering REM states while awake. The brain has adapted. They are no longer dreaming in the traditional sense. They are seeing something directly, bypassing the need for sleep. What they were seeing was never recorded in words. Only one audio file survives, a partial recording from day 14. You can hear static, faint breathing, then a sudden shriek followed by a voice whispering in Finnish. "You shouldn't have taught us how to stay awake." After that night, subject vanished. The security footage shows the chamber door opening by itself, even though it required a keycard from outside. No one saw him again. The project continued for only 6 more days. The remaining subjects began drawing symbols on the walls of their boxes, circles intersected by jagged lines, like eyes split open. When asked what they meant, one replied, "That's how it sees us." By day 21, the 4th subject had bitten off the tip of his tongue, claiming he needed to stop the sound from speaking through him. His vital signs dropped to near zero, yet he remained conscious, murmuring in an unknown language. The final recorded experiment was on day 23. The team decided to shut down the chambers and sedate the participants. But when they cut the power, something unexpected happened. All 5 chambers, some empty, some still occupied, began to vibrate. The cameras flickered. A low-frequency hum filled the hallways, so deep it shook the lights from the ceiling. Then, silence. When emergency power was restored, the facility was empty. Every subject was gone. The walls of the chambers were covered in black handprints, all pressed outward, as if something inside had been trying to get out. In the years that followed, Facility K-12 was abandoned. Locals avoided the area, claiming they heard whispering through the ground at night. One fisherman reported seeing lights beneath the ice on the nearby lake, flickering like submerged candles. The Finnish government denied any involvement in psychological experiments involving civilians. But the U.S. acquired fragments of the data under Project NORTHSBHERE in 1981. In one memo, a researcher summarized the findings as follows. REM suppression triggers latent neural patterns that may allow for external interference. Sleep is not just for rest, it's a barrier. Remove it, and something comes through. For decades, that quote was dismissed as pseudoscience. Until 2009, when a security contractor exploring abandoned Soviet bunkers in Murmansk reported finding a small cube-shaped room lined with lead plates. Inside, he discovered a rusted metal bed and a message scratched into the wall in Finnish. It read, "It watches when we wake. It waits when we sleep." The footage he took ends abruptly when his camera tilts to the floor, showing only his boots, then static. He was never found. Today, Facility K-12 is sealed beneath 30 meters of concrete. The government calls it a contamination zone due to radiation leaks. But if you visit the frozen woods around the area, locals will warn you not to stay past sunset. They say you can still hear knocking beneath the snow. Some claim that if you listen closely enough, You can hear the faint rhythm of breathing, not your own, and see shapes moving just beyond the edge of the trees, like silhouettes that never blink. And if you stay awake long enough, if you fight the sleep that your body begs for, you might understand what the researchers did. That there's something ancient in the space between dreaming and waking. Something patient. Something that noticed when we tried to block it out. They wanted to see what happened when sleep stopped protecting us. They found out. And it's still awake.